Captain Eric Vale stepped out of the sleek spacecraft and felt the heat of 3 suns on his skin. The light was unlike anything he had ever experienced. One sun glowed a soft golden hue, another burned a harsh white, and the third shimmered a pale blue. Together they bathed the landscape in a strange, shifting glow that made every shadow move and shimmer. Eric shaded his eyes and looked around. The ground beneath him was soft and uneven, covered in a layer of silvery grass that reflected the sunlight in tiny sparks. Strange flowers with translucent petals swayed gently in a breeze he could not feel. The air smelled clean but carried a faint metallic tang, as if the planet itself was alive. This planet, designated Trianis 3 by humanity, had been the subject of intense study for decades. Its 3 suns created unusual seasons, and its orbit had been carefully calculated to allow for stable environments. Yet nothing in Eric's training had truly prepared him for the first step onto its surface. He took a deep breath and let the magnitude of the moment sink in. Here he was, a human, standing on a world completely untouched by his kind. As he moved forward, he noticed movement near a grove of crystalline trees. Figures emerged slowly, moving with caution but unmistakably intelligent. They were tall and slender, their skin shimmering faintly in the sunlight, almost as if they carried the light of the suns within them. Their eyes were large and expressive, glimmering with colors he had no names for. They watched him silently, their posture curious but not threatening. Eric stopped and raised a hand in greeting, remembering the first lesson in interstellar diplomacy: gesture first, weapon second. He smiled, hoping his human smile would translate as a sign of peace. The creatures tilted their heads, mirroring his movements slightly, as if trying to understand him. For a moment, time seemed to stretch. 3 suns continued to move across the sky, casting long, shifting shadows, and humans and aliens regarded each other with equal curiosity. He reached for his portable communicator and activated it. A soft hum filled the air as holographic symbols floated above the device. Eric carefully touched the symbols, sending basic images of his mission and intentions. Pictures of Earth, his spacecraft, and simple diagrams of himself appeared in the air. The aliens leaned closer, their elongated fingers brushing the air near the holograms but not touching them. Their interest was palpable. Eric's heart raced. He had been trained for contact with alien life, but nothing could prepare a person for the first true meeting. He could feel the weight of history on his shoulders. If this encounter went poorly, humanity could lose a valuable opportunity to understand one of the universe's most unique planets. Yet, if he acted with patience and respect, the possibilities were immense. The aliens began to communicate among themselves with sounds that were melodic and fluid, almost like music carried by the wind. Eric listened carefully. He could not understand their language, but he noticed patterns: rising tones when they were alert, soft hums when calm, and quick, sharp bursts when curious. He realized that the key to understanding them might not lie in words alone, but in careful observation of behavior and emotion. Eric set up a small device to record everything. He needed to study their reactions to his presence, the holographic images, and any movement he made. The device projected a small drone that floated in the air silently, capturing video and sound. As the drone hovered, one of the aliens approached cautiously. It was taller than the others, with a crown-like formation of luminous ridges on its head. It extended a hand, not in aggression, but as if to examine the drone. Eric held his breath. The alien touched the drone lightly, and a soft vibration went through it. Eric watched as the creature's eyes widened in fascination. Then, surprisingly, it smiled. Not a human smile, but a curl of the luminous ridges around its face that conveyed warmth. Eric felt a surge of relief. Trust, even if small, had been established. Over the next few hours, Eric moved carefully among the group. He demonstrated simple actions, picking up rocks, showing them his tools, and pointing to the suns as a way to indicate time and direction. The aliens mirrored some of his movements, tilted their heads curiously, and even experimented with the devices he brought. There was a rhythm to their interaction, a silent exchange of curiosity and intelligence. It was not a conversation in words, but it was communication nonetheless. The planet itself seemed alive with energy. Rivers of crystal-clear water reflected all 3 suns, creating a dazzling array of colors. Floating plants drifted gently through the air, their roots suspended as if gravity had no claim on them. Strange, small creatures skittered across the ground and through the air, unafraid of Eric's presence. It was as if the ecosystem was aware of his arrival and had adjusted itself to observe without harm. As evening approached, though the concept of evening was different here, the suns shifted in ways that cast long, overlapping shadows. Eric took shelter in a natural alcove formed by a crystalline formation. He reviewed his recordings and notes, realizing how much he had already learned. Humanity had expected to find signs of life on this planet, but the depth of intelligence and the subtlety of communication were beyond any prediction. These beings were not merely surviving, they were thriving in harmony with a world that seemed hostile at first glance. Eric felt a pang of isolation. He was alone on a foreign world with beings who could, at any moment, choose to reject him. Yet there was also a sense of connection. They were curious as he was. They were cautious as he was. And somewhere in the quiet observation, a bridge was forming, small, fragile, but real. Night on Trianis 3 was not darkness. One sun dipped behind distant mountains, the second dimmed slightly, and the third bathed the world in a soft blue glow. The planet seemed to exhale, as if responding to the change in light. The aliens gathered near a crystalline pond, their reflections shimmering in the surface, creating an intricate dance of light and color. Eric watched silently, understanding that these moments were as much a part of communication as any words could be. He prepared a simple camp for the night. Nothing could replicate the comforts of Earth, but he felt a strange peace. He ate a small ration of dehydrated food, rehydrated with water from the planet, which was safe but had a faint metallic taste. He examined his equipment, ensuring that everything functioned despite the planet's magnetic fluctuations. He realized that survival here was not merely about technology, but about observation, adaptability, and respect for the environment. As he lay down, Eric reflected on the day's events. Humanity had sent explorers to countless planets, seeking life, resources, and knowledge. Many had failed to find anything beyond microbes or barren landscapes. Yet here, on this three-sun planet, he had encountered beings of intelligence, curiosity, and grace. The potential for learning, for understanding, and for building a peaceful relationship was immense, but he also understood the stakes. A single mistake, a single misinterpretation of behavior could end everything. The aliens had power beyond human comprehension in their environment. They could alter the flow of energy, influence the behavior of creatures, and manipulate natural phenomena in ways that Eric could only observe, not control. He had to proceed with patience, humility, and ingenuity, the very traits that had allowed humanity to survive and thrive across countless worlds. As the light shifted again with the movement of the suns, Eric realized he had taken the first step into a larger universe. The aliens, far from threatening, had shown curiosity, intelligence, and subtle kindness. And in return, he had offered patience, observation, and respect. He drifted to sleep under three suns, feeling both small and significant at the same time. A human, fragile yet resilient, standing on the edge of discovery. When he woke, the aliens were already observing him again, waiting. He smiled, knowing the day ahead would bring challenges, learning, and perhaps the first real connection between humanity and a truly alien intelligence. He stood and stretched, ready to continue the delicate dance of curiosity and understanding that would define his stay on Trianis 3. Here, humanity's greatest strengths, curiosity, adaptability, and empathy, would be tested, and perhaps, for the first time, truly celebrated among the stars. The morning light of the three suns spilled across the silver grass, casting overlapping shadows that seemed to move as if alive. Captain Eric Vale stretched his arms and surveyed the alien settlement he had seen from a distance the day before. The luminous figures were already moving, floating gracefully across the crystalline terrain, attending to their tasks with precision and purpose. Their actions were coordinated yet natural, each individual aware of the others in a silent harmony that Eric could barely comprehend. He packed his supplies and adjusted his equipment, careful to move slowly so as not to startle them. Every step he took seemed magnified in the soft light, his human presence stark against the alien elegance of the planet. Despite the strangeness, he felt a growing sense of connection. The aliens' curiosity yesterday had not diminished, and he sensed that the next step, true communication, was close. He activated the portable communicator and projected a series of holographic images. The device displayed simple illustrations, a human hand, tools, the suns, and even basic representations of emotions like joy and curiosity. The aliens watched intently, their luminous eyes tracking every movement. One of them stepped forward, reaching out to touch an image of a human hand. The gesture was careful, almost tentative, but deliberate. Eric mirrored it with his own hand. There was a moment of recognition, a subtle understanding that crossed species boundaries. The alien recoiled slightly, then extended its hand again, this time with confidence. Eric smiled. Trust, he realized, was growing between them, built on patience and observation rather than words. He decided to test another form of communication. He picked up a small rock and drew simple patterns in the sand. Circles, lines, and dots formed shapes that represented actions: walk, look, touch. The aliens tilted their heads, observing, then began tracing their own patterns in the sand with elongated fingers. Though the symbols were not identical, the intention was clear. A basic dialogue was emerging, one that transcended language. Eric spent hours with them, exchanging gestures, symbols, and small demonstrations of his technology. He showed them how his scanner could detect minerals beneath the surface, how a small light could shine in darkness, and even how simple machines moved through gears and levers. The aliens responded with fascination, examining the devices with a mix of curiosity and intelligence. They mimicked some actions, adapted others, and even created their own variations using local materials. During one interaction, Eric noticed a faint hum in the air, distinct from any sound he had heard before. The aliens were producing it, a harmonic vibration that resonated with their crystalline surroundings. When he placed his hand on the ground, he felt the subtle pulses through the soles of his boots. It was a language of rhythm and resonance, a way to communicate that did not rely on visual symbols alone. Eric recorded the vibrations and attempted to replicate them using his own equipment. The aliens paused, then emitted a slightly altered hum, a form of acknowledgement or perhaps approval. By midday, Eric had established a routine. He moved among the aliens, observing, demonstrating, and attempting new ways to communicate. The settlement itself was remarkable. Structures grew naturally from crystalline formations, shaped and guided by alien hands into functional designs that harmonized with the environment. Bridges spanned rivers of liquid crystal, and platforms floated above the ground, suspended by forces Eric could not yet explain. Energy flowed visibly in the form of shimmering lines along the surfaces, harvested from the planet and the three suns above. Eric realized the aliens had mastered their world in a way humanity had only dreamed of. They were not only intelligent, they were innovators, engineers, and caretakers all in one. Every action seemed purposeful, every creation integrated seamlessly into the environment. Humanity's explorers often encountered intelligent life that was either primitive or hostile. Here, intelligence and harmony coexisted in a breathtaking display. While observing, Eric noticed a small group of aliens approaching him with an object. It appeared to be a container made from a translucent material that glowed faintly. One of the aliens placed it carefully before him and made a series of soft, melodic sounds. Eric knelt and examined the object. Inside were small seeds, crystalline in appearance, with a faint, pulsing glow. He understood immediately. It was a gift, an offering of trust and perhaps knowledge. He accepted it with a bow, touching the container gently before standing. The alien stepped back, watching his reaction. Eric knew this was a delicate moment. Respect and understanding were fragile here, built on small gestures and careful observation. He carefully documented the gift, noting its properties and potential significance. Later, as he explored the surrounding area, Eric encountered wildlife that moved with astonishing intelligence. Small, luminescent creatures interacted with the environment in complex ways, shaping the landscape subtly as they foraged. Larger animals, appearing almost mechanical in their precision, navigated the terrain without conflict, suggesting a natural equilibrium guided by instinct and intelligence alike. Eric marveled at the balance. On Earth, humanity often disrupted ecosystems, yet here, intelligence had not destroyed harmony. He wondered if this balance could teach humans something vital, lessons in coexistence and respect for the natural world. As the second sun reached its zenith, a sudden tremor shook the ground. Eric stumbled but caught himself. The aliens around him paused, their glowing eyes scanning the horizon. A distant ridge of mountains shimmered, responding to the movement. It was not an earthquake in the traditional sense. Something in the planet's energy grid, he realized, had shifted. He pulled out his instruments and began scanning. The readings were unusual. Energy levels spiked unpredictably, affecting his equipment and the alien structures. He looked toward the settlement, worried. The aliens had noticed the anomaly too. They moved quickly, their actions coordinated and precise. Eric followed, helping where he could, using his knowledge of mechanics to stabilize a small bridge that threatened to collapse. The aliens accepted his assistance, though warily. It was a trial of sorts, he understood. Could a human contribute meaningfully without causing harm? His careful intervention seemed to reassure them, and he felt a surge of pride. Human ingenuity, tempered with patience and observation, had earned their trust further. Once the immediate danger passed, the aliens guided Eric to a higher platform overlooking the settlement. From here, he could see the full scope of their world. Crystalline rivers reflected the suns, platforms floated effortlessly, and beings moved with precision and grace. He took notes, sketches, and photographs, realizing that humanity's knowledge of intelligent life would be forever changed by this encounter. Evening approached, though again, it was unlike any evening on Earth. The suns shifted, bathing the planet in a spectrum of colors that changed every few minutes. Eric sat quietly, recording observations while the aliens gathered around him at a respectful distance. They did not speak, yet their presence felt warm, acknowledging, and curious. He realized that communication was not always about words. Sometimes it was about shared experience, observation, and trust. As night, or the closest approximation here, fell, Eric prepared a small fire using a controlled energy device. It cast soft, safe light that did not disturb the delicate ecosystem. The aliens watched, fascinated by the flickering flames. One approached him with a small bowl, offering a substance similar to water but infused with faint energy pulses. Eric drank, careful to respect the gesture, and felt a subtle warmth spread through his body. He smiled at them, and they responded with a harmonic vibration, a sound that seemed to express shared satisfaction. Lying down on the soft grass, Eric reflected on the day. He had learned more about these beings in hours than he had from months of remote observation from orbit. Curiosity, patience, and respect had opened a door that no weapon or aggressive action ever could. Humanity's strengths, adaptability, problem-solving, and empathy had proved themselves once again. He thought about the broader implications. If humans could learn to approach unknown worlds with humility and intelligence, the universe could become a place of discovery rather than conquest. These aliens, so different yet so capable, represented a mirror for humanity. They showed what intelligence could achieve when combined with harmony, curiosity, and mutual respect. Eric drifted to sleep under the shifting glow of the three suns, feeling both exhausted and exhilarated. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, deeper communication, understanding their society, and perhaps learning secrets of their energy and technology. Yet he knew one truth had already become clear: humanity had something unique to offer. In the face of the unknown, in the presence of beings more advanced in some ways than humans, human ingenuity, empathy, and courage could still shine. The night passed slowly, the three suns tracing arcs across the sky, and Eric slept lightly, alert to any movement. When he woke, the aliens were observing him again, their curiosity undimmed. He smiled, ready to continue the delicate dance of exploration, learning, and trust. Here, on a world bathed in three suns, the story of humanity's first real contact with intelligent life was just beginning. The next morning, the light of the three suns shifted across the silvery grasslands, painting the crystalline rivers in colors Eric had no names for. Captain Eric Vale felt a thrill of anticipation. Today, he would attempt something more ambitious. He would try to learn directly from the aliens, not just observe or show them his technology. Yesterday had been a success in establishing trust, but today he wanted to understand their minds, their methods, and perhaps uncover secrets of their society. He stepped carefully into the open area where the aliens had gathered. They regarded him silently, as they always did, their glowing eyes reflecting the complex light of the suns. He projected images of basic machines and actions into the air, but this time he also included images of natural processes: rivers flowing, plants growing, energy moving. He hoped to show that he was not only curious about them, but also about their world. One of the aliens, the one who had approached the drone yesterday, stepped forward and emitted a sequence of melodic vibrations. Eric watched the patterns carefully, noting the rising and falling tones. He tried to mimic them with his own voice, slightly off-key but deliberate. The alien paused, tilted its head, and then repeated the sequence with subtle modifications. Eric realized they were teaching him a simple form of language, a combination of sound and rhythm that could convey basic concepts. Excited, he recorded everything. The aliens began to demonstrate small tasks with their hands, constructing tiny crystalline structures, moving objects with precision, and even manipulating energy flows that shimmered along the surfaces. Eric noticed patterns in their movements. Certain gestures corresponded to specific effects. He attempted to copy them, fumbling at first, then gradually improving. With every success, the aliens emitted harmonic sounds, a clear sign of approval. Hours passed as Eric learned more about their techniques. He discovered that their energy systems drew from the planet itself, capturing the unique radiation of the three suns and channeling it into usable forms. They could store it, redirect it, and even use it to enhance growth in plants or control the flow of water. Eric marveled at the efficiency. Humanity's technology could never achieve such harmony with nature. Yet here, with careful observation, he realized humans could learn without destroying, a principle that could redefine interstellar exploration. During a pause, Eric explored the terrain around the settlement. He noticed a series of floating gardens, suspended above the ground by forces he could not yet explain. Plants thrived in perfect balance, some shaped like spirals, others like broad fans catching the light. Small creatures, glowing faintly, moved among the plants, tending them as if they were workers or caretakers. Eric recognized an incredible level of cooperation. The aliens had not only built a society, they had built a sustainable ecosystem, one that integrated technology, life, and environment seamlessly. Curiosity drove him further. He approached one of the larger creatures, a quadruped with crystalline plates along its back. It did not flee, but observed him calmly. He extended his hand slowly, and the creature sniffed it, emitting a soft, harmonic vibration. Eric felt a strange warmth in his chest. Trust, understanding, and curiosity were universal languages. Even without shared words, life could connect. Returning to the central area, Eric found the aliens had arranged a demonstration. They had built a small model of a structure, a bridge-like formation suspended between two crystalline spires. They gestured for him to watch as they manipulated energy flows, guiding light and heat to maintain stability. Eric realized they were showing him their engineering principles, not just for survival, but for learning. He took careful notes, understanding that humanity could benefit from such knowledge in ways that went beyond technology. It was about balance, respect, and careful planning. A sudden tremor shook the ground, reminding him of yesterday's minor disturbance. The aliens reacted immediately, their coordinated movements precise and calm. They moved to stabilize parts of the model, adjusting energy flows and applying corrective pressure. Eric joined them, using his understanding of mechanics to assist where he could. Together, human and alien worked side by side, a team united by curiosity and intelligence rather than language. Once the tremor passed, the aliens emitted a series of harmonic sequences, directing Eric's attention to a nearby crystalline river. He watched in awe as the energy of the river interacted with floating devices they had built. Small platforms moved along the current, guided by unseen forces, carrying nutrients and light to areas where plants needed them most. Eric realized this was a living transportation system, combining biology, physics, and engineering in a way that was both elegant and sustainable. He attempted to replicate one small part of the system with his portable tools. At first, it failed, and the aliens paused, observing him carefully. But Eric persisted, making adjustments and learning from their subtle cues. Slowly, the device worked as intended, guiding a small floating tray along the river. The aliens emitted a soft, harmonic vibration, which Eric took as praise. A sense of pride filled him. Here, on a distant world, human ingenuity had contributed to alien systems, not destroyed them. By midday, Eric had gained a deeper understanding of alien communication, observation, and problem-solving. He began experimenting with combining human techniques with their methods. Simple mechanical principles, when merged with their energy manipulation, created new possibilities for construction, transportation, and energy storage. The aliens observed these experiments with fascination, their melodic vibrations growing more complex as they seemed to analyze and evaluate his work. As the suns shifted, creating a cascade of colors across the horizon, Eric decided to share a small piece of human culture. He projected images of Earth, forests, rivers, cities, and humans at work and play. The aliens examined these projections with curiosity, tilting their heads and emitting melodic sequences that Eric guessed were questions. He tried to answer using gestures and simple symbols, showing them the principles of agriculture, water management, and energy use on Earth. The aliens appeared fascinated. One of them produced a small device, glowing faintly, and demonstrated a concept Eric had never considered: energy storage through crystalline resonance, a method that could revolutionize human technology if adapted safely. Eric realized that this world was not only a place to teach, but also a place where humanity could learn from beings far more advanced in some ways. Late in the afternoon, the aliens guided Eric to a larger platform overlooking a valley filled with similar crystalline structures. He observed that their entire settlement was part of a larger system, a network that maintained ecological balance and energy flow. Every movement, every construction, and every task was coordinated with astonishing precision. Humans had cities, yes, but they had never created anything so integrated with nature itself. Eric felt a profound respect for these beings. Despite their differences, they shared with him the universal traits of intelligence, curiosity, and cooperation. Humanity's first real contact with an alien civilization was not about dominance, trade, or conflict. It was about shared understanding and mutual learning. Evening approached, and the suns began their slow descent, though their light never truly vanished. Eric prepared a small area to rest, reflecting on the day. He realized that each interaction, each observation was a lesson not just about alien life, but about the potential of humanity itself. Adaptability, patience, and ingenuity were powerful tools. The universe was vast, and humans were small, yet capable of achieving great things through respect and creativity. As he lay down on the silver grass, the aliens gathered nearby, their luminous forms glowing softly in the triple sunlight. They did not touch him, did not speak, yet their presence was comforting, almost protective. Eric closed his eyes, listening to the faint harmonic vibrations in the air, feeling connected in a way he had never imagined possible. He understood something important. Trust was fragile, curiosity was universal, and learning was the bridge between species. If humanity could approach the stars with humility and intelligence, the universe would open doors to knowledge, friendship, and discovery beyond imagination. The night, or the closest approximation here, passed quietly with the three suns tracing their arcs across the sky. Eric slept lightly, dreams filled with images of flowing rivers, floating gardens, and beings of luminous skin moving gracefully in perfect harmony. When he awoke, the aliens were waiting once more, their curiosity renewed. Today, he realized, would bring even greater challenges. Communication would deepen, the secrets of their energy systems might be revealed, and the foundation for a lasting bond between species would be laid. And yet, he felt confident. Humanity had proven itself resilient, patient, and capable of forming connections even across the vastest divides. Here, on this three-sun planet, the story of understanding and collaboration between humans and aliens was just beginning, and Eric Vale was at its center. The light of the three suns rose slowly over the crystalline plains, bathing the landscape in shifting colors that Eric had never seen on any other world. He awoke with a sense of purpose. Yesterday had been a day of observation and discovery, of learning from the aliens and teaching them small pieces of human knowledge. Today, he hoped, would take their relationship further, but he also sensed a subtle tension in the air. The aliens' curiosity seemed mixed with caution, and Eric understood that trust, as fragile as it was, could be tested at any moment. He packed his equipment carefully and stepped toward the central platform where the aliens were gathering. Their luminous forms were already arranged in patterns that suggested communication. One of the aliens emitted a series of melodic vibrations, rising and falling in rhythm, drawing Eric's attention to a small structure nearby. It was a crystalline tower, taller than any building he had seen on Earth, with intricate patterns glowing along its surface. Eric approached slowly, showing no sudden movements. He projected holographic symbols above his hand, indicating curiosity and respect. The aliens paused, observing his gestures with sharp focus. One stepped forward and placed a hand on the tower, causing the glow to ripple in waves. The tower seemed almost alive, responding to their presence. Eric realized that the tower was more than a building. It was an interface, a combination of architecture and technology designed to interact with its environment and the beings who lived around it. Curious and careful, Eric extended his hand toward the tower as well, mimicking the alien's gesture. A faint pulse of energy traveled through the structure, and the tower shimmered in response. For a moment, he felt a thrill of connection. Then, unexpectedly, a warning vibration traveled through the air. One of the aliens emitted a sharp, urgent sequence of sounds, and the others stepped back. The tower glowed more intensely, casting long, shifting shadows across the ground. Eric froze. He realized that even a small misstep could be interpreted as a threat. The tower, the aliens, and the energy flowing through them were all linked. Any mistake could cause damage, not out of malice, but out of misunderstanding. He backed away slowly, hands raised in a gesture of peace. The aliens watched him carefully, their harmonic tones softening as they assessed his reaction. It took several minutes for the tension to pass. Eric observed the aliens' reactions closely, noting subtle changes in the vibrations they emitted, the way their bodies shifted, and how they coordinated with each other. Slowly, he began to understand the warning. It was not anger or fear. It was communication, a way of saying, "Be careful. This is delicate. Respect the balance." The creature tilted its head, seeming to understand, then made a series of soft, approving vibrations. Eric felt a small surge of relief. Trust, once again, had been reinforced, but only through careful attention and respect. As the suns moved higher, the aliens guided Eric to a nearby valley filled with energy conduits and floating platforms. The valley was alive with motion. Glowing rivers of energy flowed in precise channels, platforms adjusted their positions automatically, and small creatures tended to plants and structures simultaneously. The coordination was breathtaking. Eric realized that the aliens' society was built on observation, adaptation, and cooperation, principles that humans could admire and emulate. He attempted to assist with one of the smaller platforms, using his knowledge of mechanics to stabilize a shifting structure. At first, the platform responded imperfectly, wobbling slightly and causing the aliens to emit sharp vibrations. Eric paused, analyzing the situation. He adjusted his approach, taking into account the energy flow he could feel through the ground. Slowly, the platform stabilized. The aliens responded with melodic sequences that he interpreted as praise. It was a small victory, but it reinforced a crucial lesson. Human intelligence could complement alien systems without dominating them. After several hours, a sudden energy surge shook the valley. Crystalline spires trembled, and floating platforms oscillated dangerously. Eric felt the ground beneath him pulse with raw power. The aliens reacted immediately, coordinating movements to stabilize the structures. He noticed one of the younger aliens hesitating, unsure of the correct response. Without thinking, Eric stepped forward, guiding the energy channels with a small device he had adapted for the planet's unique conditions. The surge began to stabilize, but only partially. Eric realized he needed to work with the aliens rather than control the situation alone. He observed their harmonic signals, matching their rhythms with his gestures and energy manipulations. Slowly, the surge diminished, and the valley settled into balance again. The aliens emitted a complex series of vibrations that conveyed something Eric could not fully translate, but he sensed it was gratitude, acknowledgement, and approval. As the suns shifted toward the horizon, Eric took a moment to rest. The aliens gathered nearby, maintaining a respectful distance but clearly monitoring him. He felt a sense of shared accomplishment. Humans had a reputation for being clumsy in alien worlds, often unintentionally destructive. Yet here, by observing, listening, and adapting, he had contributed meaningfully without causing harm. Humanity's strengths, curiosity, empathy, and ingenuity had proven themselves once again. Later, Eric explored a natural amphitheater where the aliens conducted what appeared to be a ritual of learning. Structures rose from the ground in delicate spirals, and energy flowed along precise channels, creating a pattern that pulsed with light. The aliens moved in coordination with the energy, their gestures influencing the flow and the glow. Eric realized that this was not a ceremony in the human sense, but a process of teaching and sharing knowledge. They were demonstrating principles of balance, energy, and communication, allowing him to observe and learn. He carefully participated, mimicking simple movements and projecting energy from his device in ways that complemented the aliens' actions. At first, he made errors, causing minor disruptions. The aliens emitted soft, corrective vibrations, guiding him without aggression. Gradually, he improved, and by the end of the session, his contributions harmonized with theirs. For the first time, he felt a true sense of interspecies cooperation, a shared understanding built on trust and intelligence. As night approached, or the closest approximation since the suns never fully disappeared, the aliens led Eric to a reflective pool. The water's surface mirrored the three suns and the glowing figures around it, creating a breathtaking panorama of light and color. One of the aliens gestured for him to kneel and place a hand on the water. He did so, and ripples spread across the surface. The aliens emitted harmonic vibrations, and Eric realized they were showing him something profound. All actions have consequences, and balance must be maintained even in learning. He sat quietly, reflecting on the day. Communication was no longer just observation or simple gestures. It had evolved into a dynamic exchange, a combination of observation, imitation, and adaptation. The aliens had taught him patience, careful listening, and subtlety. Humans often relied on words or force, but here, intelligence and cooperation were far more powerful tools. Eric understood that this was a test of character as much as skill. The aliens could have rejected him at any point, yet they had chosen to allow him participation, provided he demonstrated respect and understanding. He realized that humanity's first encounters with alien life would be remembered not for technological superiority, but for empathy, patience, and ingenuity. Exhausted but exhilarated, Eric prepared his resting area for the night. The aliens remained nearby, their glowing forms casting gentle light over the landscape. He ate a small meal, reflecting on how much he had learned in just 2 days. Principles of energy manipulation, coordinated systems, and even aspects of alien thought processes conveyed through harmonic signals. As he lay down, the suns cast long, interlaced shadows across the terrain. Eric felt a deep sense of connection to the planet, its inhabitants, and the possibilities for humanity. Trust had been tested today through minor errors, sudden energy surges, and careful adaptation. And humanity had passed not because of strength, but because of intelligence, empathy, and resilience. He drifted to sleep with the subtle vibrations of the aliens' energy around him, a lullaby of curiosity and learning. Tomorrow, he knew, would bring new challenges. Perhaps deeper insights into alien technology, greater understanding of their society, or even unexpected dangers. Yet he felt ready. Humanity's greatest qualities had been affirmed on this three-sun planet, and he carried the knowledge that cooperation and intelligence could overcome even the vast unknown. When he awoke, the aliens were already observing him, their postures alert but not hostile. Eric smiled, feeling the weight of history and opportunity. Each day here was a chance to learn, contribute, and build a bridge between species. The universe was vast and mysterious, but human ingenuity, empathy, and adaptability could leave a mark that was both meaningful and respectful. As the suns rose, casting overlapping waves of light across the crystalline plains, Eric took a deep breath. Today would be another day of careful observation, careful learning, and careful participation. But he felt confident. Humanity had proven time and again that even when small and inexperienced, it could rise to meet challenges with curiosity, creativity, and courage. On this three-sun planet, that spirit had found its first true test, and it was shining as brightly as the suns above. The 3 suns rose together, casting their combined light across the crystalline plains and filling the world with shifting, brilliant colors. Captain Eric Vale stood at the edge of the central settlement, observing the aliens as they moved with the calm, deliberate grace that had fascinated him since his arrival. Over the past several days, he had learned much from them, their methods of energy manipulation, the harmony of their ecosystems, and the depth of their communication. Today, he felt, would bring the culmination of his work, a deeper understanding of this civilization and the potential for humanity to carry these lessons forward. He began by following the aliens to a towering structure in the center of the settlement. The crystalline tower shimmered with an intensity that seemed alive, reacting to the presence of its inhabitants. The aliens gestured for him to approach carefully. He mimicked their movements, stepping lightly, hands raised in a gesture of respect. A pulse of energy traveled along the tower, and for a moment Eric felt it resonate through him, as if the planet itself were acknowledging his presence. The alien who had first approached his drone stepped forward, emitting a series of melodic vibrations that Eric had come to recognize as instructions. He followed them, projecting holographic images of his observations and experiments. The aliens paused frequently, analyzing the projections and offering their own responses through subtle gestures and harmonic sounds. Slowly, a true dialogue emerged, a combination of observation, imitation, and shared understanding. Eric's goal today was to learn about the largest energy network on the planet, a system that powered the settlement, the floating gardens, and the flowing rivers of light he had seen before. The aliens led him along a series of bridges and platforms, each glowing with energy that pulsed in harmony with the sun's. Eric noticed the precise coordination required to maintain stability across such a complex system. Even a small misstep could have consequences. He felt the weight of responsibility, but also the thrill of opportunity. At one point, they reached a vast valley filled with flowing energy channels and moving platforms. Eric observed the aliens' actions closely, noting how they manipulated energy with gestures that seemed almost instinctive. He attempted to assist, carefully matching their movements and projecting small bursts of controlled energy from his device. The platforms responded, moving smoothly along the channels. The aliens emitted harmonic vibrations that Eric interpreted as praise. He realized that humans, even without innate control over energy like the aliens, could contribute through observation, logic, and creativity. As they worked, Eric noticed subtle fluctuations in the energy flow, a sign of a potential imbalance. The aliens responded immediately, moving in coordinated patterns to stabilize the system. Eric remembered the lessons of patience and careful observation. Instead of acting impulsively, he studied the fluctuations and compared them to the patterns he had seen over the past days. Using his understanding of mechanics and energy principles, he made small, precise adjustments. The imbalance corrected, and the valley returned to perfect harmony. The aliens emitted a long, flowing sequence of vibrations, their eyes glowing brighter, a clear acknowledgement of his contribution. By midday, Eric had learned more than he could have imagined. He understood not only the technical workings of the energy networks, but also the philosophy behind their design. Every movement, every structure, and every energy flow was intended to maintain balance with the environment. Their technology was not separate from nature. It was an extension of it. Humans often sought to dominate or exploit nature, but here, intelligence was used to preserve and enhance it. Eric felt inspired, realizing that humanity had the potential to learn from such principles if approached with respect and curiosity. Later, the aliens guided him to a ceremonial platform near a crystalline river. They demonstrated a process that combined energy manipulation, observation, and communal effort. Eric followed their gestures, projecting controlled bursts of energy that complemented their actions. The river responded, flowing in intricate patterns that seemed almost choreographed. The floating platforms adjusted their paths automatically, creating a synchronized display of light, movement, and energy. Eric felt a sense of awe and connection. Here, humans and aliens were participating in a shared act of creation, not through dominance but through cooperation. A sudden tremor shook the ground, more intense than any Eric had experienced before. Floating platforms swayed, and the flow of energy fluctuated. The aliens reacted immediately, moving in perfect coordination. Eric remembered the lessons of the past days. He observed the patterns of their actions, mirrored their movements, and applied careful adjustments with his device. Together, they stabilized the valley once again. The aliens' vibrations were louder, longer, and more complex than ever before. Eric understood that he had proven something vital. Humans could be reliable partners in understanding and maintaining the balance of alien systems. As the suns shifted, casting long overlapping shadows, the aliens led Eric to a high vantage point overlooking the entire settlement. From here, he could see the network of energy channels, floating gardens, crystalline towers, and moving creatures all working in harmony. It was a breathtaking sight, a civilization that had mastered both intellect and environment without destruction. Eric felt a profound respect for their achievements. He realized that his presence here had accomplished more than just observation. Humanity had been tested and found capable of cooperation, problem-solving, and empathy. The aliens had allowed him to participate fully, not because humans were superior, but because they could demonstrate trust, patience, and ingenuity. These were qualities that could carry humans far in the universe, enabling peaceful contact and mutual learning. In the late afternoon, the aliens presented him with a gift, a small crystalline device glowing faintly with internal energy. They emitted harmonic sequences that conveyed meaning he could not fully translate, but the gesture was clear. It was a symbol of trust, acknowledgement, and partnership. Eric accepted it with care, bowing respectfully. He examined the device, noting that it contained principles of energy manipulation he could study further, principles that might advance humanity's understanding of physics and ecology if applied responsibly. As the suns dipped toward the horizon, Eric reflected on the journey so far. From cautious observation to meaningful participation, the relationship between humans and aliens had grown steadily. Mutual curiosity, careful learning, and respect had created a bridge between species. The aliens had taught him patience, subtlety, and the art of working in harmony with the environment. Humanity, in turn, had demonstrated adaptability, creativity, and intelligence. He spent the evening walking among the settlement, observing the aliens' daily routines, their interactions, and the systems they maintained. Each task was purposeful, precise, and interconnected. Humans had cities, yes, but they rarely achieved such unity between life, technology, and environment. Eric made detailed notes, sketches, and recordings, knowing that the knowledge gained here could transform human understanding of ecosystems, energy, and communication. As night approached, Eric prepared a small resting area. The aliens gathered nearby, glowing softly in the light of the three suns. They did not approach too closely, but their presence was reassuring, almost protective. Eric felt a deep sense of connection, a shared understanding that transcended words. Curiosity had built trust, intelligence had built cooperation, and patience had built respect. He reflected on humanity's role in the universe. Despite being a small species, fragile and inexperienced compared to the aliens, humans had the capacity to observe, adapt, and contribute meaningfully. Strength was not measured in dominance or power, but in the ability to learn, empathize, and cooperate. Humanity's first contact with an advanced civilization had shown that these qualities could shine even in the vast, unknown reaches of space. Before resting, Eric projected images of Earth into the air. Forests, rivers, cities, and humans working together appeared before the aliens. He hoped they could see the potential for harmony and ingenuity in his own species. The aliens observed intently, their harmonic sequences soft and rhythmic. For the first time, Eric felt that a true exchange of culture and knowledge had taken place. Lying down on the silver grass, he watched the three suns slowly shift, their overlapping light painting the world in golden, white, and pale blue hues. He thought about the days ahead, the potential discoveries, and the knowledge humanity could gain. But for now, he felt content. Humanity had met the test of patience, intelligence, and cooperation. They had contributed to a complex system without disrupting it. They had communicated without words, built trust without force, and learned without arrogance. Sleep came slowly, filled with visions of crystalline rivers, floating gardens, and the glowing figures of the aliens moving in perfect harmony. Eric felt the weight of history on his shoulders, but also the excitement of discovery. Tomorrow and all the days after would be opportunities to deepen understanding, to explore the unknown, and to continue building a bridge between humans and this extraordinary civilization. When he awoke, the aliens were already observing him. Their postures were calm but attentive. Eric smiled, recognizing the silent message. Curiosity and trust had created a partnership. Humans had the ability to grow, adapt, and contribute in ways that mattered, even in the face of beings far more advanced. The suns rose together, casting a radiant light over the world, and Eric felt the truth of what he had learned. Humanity was small but remarkable, capable of shining brightly when guided by intelligence, empathy, and courage. He stepped forward to meet the aliens, projecting images and gestures of friendship, respect, and curiosity. They responded with harmonic vibrations and luminous gestures of acknowledgement. The bond that had begun with cautious observation had blossomed into mutual respect and cooperation, a foundation that could endure for generations. As Eric prepared to leave Triani's 3, he looked back at the settlement one last time. The floating platforms, energy channels, and glowing towers reflected the three suns' light, creating a spectacle of harmony, intelligence, and beauty. He carried with him knowledge, memories, and a reminder of humanity's potential. Strength was not always measured by conquest or force, but by the courage to learn, adapt, and cooperate with the unknown. The story of Captain Eric Vale on the Three-Sun planet was more than a tale of exploration. It was a testament to humanity's spirit. Curiosity, ingenuity, patience, and empathy had opened doors to understanding, trust, and partnership with an alien civilization. And as he lifted off, the suns shining brilliantly above, Eric knew that humanity had taken its first true step toward becoming a thoughtful, intelligent, and capable species among the stars.